Hi, you're watching Current Issues. My name is Vineet Malhotra. The controversy that has stemmed from the recently concluded Rajya Sabha polls in Haryana has pointed towards lapses and flaws in patterns and procedures that select the finest lawmakers to the esteemed upper house. The Election Commission has rules that are easily violated and techniques that are seriously vulnerable to fraud and manipulation. In this modern age, where just a press of a button can set into sequence a multitude of complicated dynamics, the Election Commission is still ruling over the color of the ink of a pen. This has led to the election and selection of tainted individuals who have a long-standing history of vile and vice in their credentials. What can be done about this and what are the stakes? We will find out on Current Issues, but before we delve deeper into the debate, let's have a look at this.
आरओ रिटर्निंग ऑफिसर और एआरओ दोनों के दोनों असीम गोयल के साथ में, सुभाष चंद्रा के साथ में और जेपी के साथ में, और उनका जो ऑथराइज एजेंट है जो स्पेशली बिठाया गया है, जब ये असीम गोयल आता है क्लियरली इंडिकेट लगता है कि ये पूरे मिली भगत सरकार के साथ मिलकर किया है। देखिए अब ये निकलेगा, देखिए, और इसका फेस देखिए, ये देखिए, हो गया इशारा। आपने देखा किसने इशारा किया जी? तो इसकी और एआरओ की और असीम गोयल की देखिए, इसका कॉन्टेक्ट देखिए। ये आदमी को बुलाएगा, स्टाफ को, ताकि ये पोर्शन ब्लॉक हो जाए आदमी की पीठ से। और ये ऑथराइजन पीछे वाले सुबह से नहीं थे, ये अभी आए हैं असीम गोयल के लिए। देखिए लेग मूवमेंट देखिए असीम गोयल की, देखिए यहाँ पेन छुपाया होता है, देखिए। अब इसका कॉन्टेक्ट देखिए, इसका कॉन्टेक्ट देखिए। ये आदमी को बुलाएगा, स्टाफ को, ताकि ये पोर्शन ब्लॉक हो जाए आदमी की पीठ से और कैमरा रिकॉर्ड नहीं कर सके। पर चोर की चोरी पकड़ी जाती है ना, देखिए अब कैसे पकड़ी है, देखिए। अब देखिए ये ऑफिसर बुलाया, कोई काम नहीं है उसको, बुला के यहाँ खड़ा कर देगा ताकि कैमरे के बीच में आ जाए। देखिए डेलिबरेटली अब ये गया, और ये देखिए इसकी शक्ल देखिए, मूवमेंट और इसकी मूवमेंट देखिए। इसका इशारा हो गया। अब इसकी लेग मूवमेंट देखिए, आर हो गया। अब ये देखिए पैर इसकी, ये टाई पैंट में से निकाला जी, तो पैंट होगी ना ऊपर। जब भी आप कुछ चीज निकालेंगे तो ट्राउजर ऊपर होगी। देखिए देखिए छुपा के गैप देखिए पैर में, नॉर्मल नहीं है ये। अब आप इसकी जाते ही देखिए पैर, देखिए जाते देखिए, हो गया। क्या नाला कैसा रह गया ये? आइडेंटिकल राइट साइड की मूवमेंट इसकी है, राइट पैंट की साइड की उसकी मूवमेंट उसकी है। अगर ऐसे राज्यसभा के इलेक्शन होंगे तो फिर क्या बनेगा हिंदुस्तान का, पार्लियामेंट्री डेमोक्रेसी का? किस टाइप के लोग चुन के आएंगे? फ्रॉड से चुन के आएंगे, कॉन्स्पिरेसी कर।
Okay, on this note, and at the back of this, particular episode that has happened in the Rajya Sabha elections in Haryana, the Congress has asked 13 of its disqualified MLAs to furnish an affidavit stating whom they have voted for. And to delve deeper into this debate and conversation, I'm joined by Mr. Ashish Dua, who's the spokesperson for the Congress. Ashish, thank you so much for speaking with us. Now, first of all, I need your opinion and your perspective on this entire fraudulent activity that you've just seen, which has been captured by the cameras. How blatantly shameful and how repelled are you by this, this conmanship that we just showed you?
Vineet, three simple words, if I would say, sum up the whole thing. One is unprecedented, second is unfortunate, third is unlawful. What has happened in this case is unprecedented in the sense that never before in the history of elections such unfairly the election has been won. You have the numbers, clear-cut numbers are in favor of one candidate, Mr. R.K. Anand. He's already polled 21 first preference votes. 14 are still to come, which are going to go in his favor. So that makes it 35. So clear cut, the numbers are there. But what the other candidate does is replace the pen in between. In between the voters from 74 ballot number to 86 ballot number. When Mr. Asim Goyal, BJP MLA, comes in, puts in the votes, puts in a replaced pen and goes out. Rest of the people, rest of the Congress MLAs come, they vote with the pen that has been supplied by the Election Commission, that is on the table. So they take it because it is the only pen that is on the table. They are not allowed to carry their own pens, pencils, cell phones. So whatever is given to them inside the booth, they come and vote with that. Later on, Mr. JP comes, he replaces it with the original pen, and the balance 4 who come after that, their votes are found to be valid. So this is a clear-cut sequence of events that has happened. Video footage is in front of everybody. The entire state has seen, entire country has seen, and I commend your channel, which is trying to bring out this and sustain this campaign against this fraud bigger than nothing has happened for democracy ever, to be highlighted and bring to justice.
Absolutely. As a channel, we have taken it upon ourselves to, bring all these culprits to books and make sure that, the sacred house, the august house of, the Rajya Sabha is not demeaned in any way. And on this note, let me also welcome Renu Mittal, senior journalist, onto our show. Renu, if you can hear me. Renu, I'm very sure you're familiar about this episode that's transpired in Haryana. Now, we are not talking about dirty politics. We are not talking about mudslinging. We are not talking about politicians passing the buck to each other when they fail or they flounder. We are talking about people with a criminal bent of mind who have the guts, who have the audacity, who are intrepid enough, to do something so shameful and actually pretend that they can get away with it. I want to know your perspective on this.
Yes, absolutely. As we have been saying for the last so many days, this episode shames not only politics but the entire country as a whole. A country which is trying to become one of the greats in the world, which is talking about growth rate, which is talking about all kinds of things. For us to be able to face this kind of a situation where by fraudulent means people are being elected to the Rajya Sabha, and the government, because the BJP is in power both at the center and the state, so it certainly looks like the government's full connivance is there. What is very shocking is that the election representatives of the Election Commission have given their full report on the entire incident, but still the Election Commission continues to be quiet on this. I believe people have been asking the CEC what is going to happen, and they are just sort of keeping quiet on this whole thing. I think justice delayed is justice denied, as is one of the foremost principles of justice in this country. And for the Election Commission not to react, and are they waiting for a signal from the government? Has the government told them to go slow on this? Has the government told them don't act on this? Is the Election Commission going to regain its credibility by coming out with a report or with a recommendation that sort of justifies their very existence? Now, these are all questions that are there in the public domain, and people are asking why it's taking so much time. Either way, the Election Commission should make its views clear, because the Election Commission has been sort of trying to sift the truth from the falsehoods. If that is so, then is it under pressure from the government? Has the government sort of intervened and told them that, look, don't come out with such a report? I think all these facts have to come into the public domain. People have to know what is going on, and this kind of a situation is not good either for the government or for the Election Commission or for Parliament or for the nation as a whole. And I think that the fact that repeatedly we have to keep on stressing and making these points is an indication that people are wanting justice. They want the truth to come out, but somewhere there are roadblocks being placed on that front.
Absolutely, and you have made a very valid point, because this is an election for the elitist job in the world. This is an election by seasoned politicians or people who probably are chosen to represent the government and make policies and laws. And if you have such connivance, such misdeeds being carried out in this at this level of the election, then the Election Commission also has to look into its own matters and probably pull up their socks and improve the situation and the process through which they select a particular candidate. And R.K. Anand has been very livid since the time, that it was declared that Subhash Chandra has won this particular vote. But, he's been making observations and he's been very instrumental in deciphering this entire fraudulent episode. Let's have a listen in and find out what he has to say.
ये इलेक्शन नहीं है। रिटर्निंग ऑफिसर जो इन्होंने बनाया है वो फिट नहीं है इस पोजीशन के लिए। कभी विधानसभा के में अंदर राज्यसभा के इलेक्शन कराने के लिए कभी विधानसभा के आदमी को बिठाना नहीं चाहिए इलेक्शन के अंदर, क्योंकि वो हमेशा कहीं ना कहीं किसी का साथ होगा, बायस होता है, होगा वो तो। और उसको पहली बात है एक्सपीरियंस नहीं है। बताइए क्या एक्सपीरियंस है उसके बाद? तुमने ये नहीं पता कि राज्यसभा का इलेक्शन इस पेन से करवा रहे हो जो मार्केट में 2 रुपये का अवेलेबल पेन है, और आप इस तरीके से बांध रहे हो। यहाँ तो मैं समझ सकता हूँ कि तुम इसको यहाँ से सराख करके काट के अच्छी तरीके से तो रस्सी से बांध भैया, ताकि वो पेन निकले नहीं। सो सारा दारोमदार तो इंक पर है। जब रूल 39 में लिखा हुआ है कि जी एक ही पेन से लगाना है, एक ही शाही से लगाना है, तो भैया वो तो पेन फिर बड़ा महत्व हो गया ना। अगर आपने उस पेन को सील नहीं किया, उस पेन को प्रॉपर्ली रखा नहीं, तो ये कहना कि जी मैंने ARO को वहाँ बिठा दिया था, ARO क्या करेगा? इस पेन का रंग भी वही है, इस पेन का रंग भी वही है। ये टिप फोर को निशाना का आगे थोड़ी देख रहा है। और रिटर्निंग ऑफिसर साहब जब बैलेट देख रहे हैं तो उनका रंग में फ़र्क नज़र नहीं आ रहा है उनको, तो अपने साथ ARO को कहते हैं जरा लाइट डाल इस पर, जरा लाइट डाल के, फिर भी नहीं पता चल रहा। कहता है यार एक वैलिड वोट निकाल, और निकाल के फिर दोनों को कंपेयर कर, तो दोनों को कंपेयर करके कहते हैं इनवैलिड है।
Okay, there seems to be a dubious stand which has been adopted by the Election Commission. Ashish, I want to come to you and let's figure out. The Election Commission was very swift in reacting when they actually were forced to observe the difference in the color of the ink, which is not visible through a naked eye. They actually were prompted by Subhash Chandra to put it under a torch. That means he knew there was something wrong. He was actually looking for that opportunity. He said, look at these fonts, look at this pen marks under the light, and you'll be able to make out the difference. After that, a lot of anomalies, a lot of differences, a lot of inconsistencies have cropped up. The Election Commission has kept quiet. They disqualified those 12 votes, but there are a lot of revelations that have been made after that, videographic revelations. Why isn't the Election Commission doing anything about it? Is it out of their hands? Is it out of their reach? Or do you think they are in on this controversy?
Much as we would like to, and we've urged the Election Commission to take cognizance and declare this election null and void right from the ab initio stage, right from the stage go, and call a repoll. But as a responsible political party, when we petitioned the Election Commission, we've urged them that the indulgence in malpractice, subversion and the fraud in connivance with the state officials and the state government casts a black mark on the democracy, on the fairness of the Election Commission. And the Election Commission in its own right, and we are grateful to them that they taken note of the thing and initiated the proceedings, and when they called all the 3 candidates and asked them to view the video footage, and Mr. R.K. Anand and others have taken a copy of the video footage which on their own they have examined. There are 2-3 points where the state machinery has been misused to subvert the election, and that's where even after filing a formal complaint with the police, the case has not been registered still. We would like the state authorities immediately and urge the Election Commission to direct invoke their extraordinary powers and ask the state to initiate criminal proceedings against not even the officials, but the candidate also who's involved in this entire subversion, and because of whom this entire fraud has taken place. Second, we would also urge the Election Commission to take note that this is an innovative way of booth capturing, because in the normal earlier what we had heard about booth capturing, that you force the electorate to vote in a certain way or for a particular candidate by forcing them. This is akin to that you are replacing a pen and you're forcing the candidates, the MLAs, so that the votes go void because of the technicality in things. So this should be taken note by the Election Commission, that this fraud should be treated as punishable as booth capturing. the election should be declared null and void ab initio right from stage 1. Second, we would urge election commission. Election commission in India has got a great reputation of holding, we are the biggest democracy in the world, of holding free and fair elections. So in view of the need to protect and sustain the purity of the electoral process, it is imperative for election commission to act fast and act with firmness, so that a clear signal goes on to the perpetrators of this fraud, so that it sets an example for times to come.
Absolutely, a very valid point made by Ashish Dua over there. And another term that you used, Ashish, that this is very, a creative kind of an innovative kind of booth capturing. Renu, coming back to you, Ashish also mentioned that, we are the largest democracy in the world. Either we have just been through an election, we're in the middle of an election, or we are expecting an election to happen in one state or the other. What kind of a precedent is this episode setting, being the largest democracy in the world, where MLAs, elected officials, are indulging in such dadagiri, such gundagiri, and, lowering their standards, to literally to goons?
Yes, I think that this is the kind of precedent which really no country wants or can afford, because it sort of opens the doors to all kinds of malpractices and all kinds of creative ways of cheating the people of the rightful verdict that an election throws up, whether it's a direct election or an indirect election like the kind that you have for the Rajya Sabha, where elected MLAs are voting for a person to be sent to the Rajya Sabha. Now, this kind of a situation, I'm sorry to say, is extremely damaging, and it's very saddening. It's horrifying, in fact. The fact that a country, such things can happen on the basis of mere technicalities. An election can be set aside, and an election commission is pleading helplessness, because is it a toothless body? Is it not a constitutional body that has been given powers by the Constitution of India, or has it abrogated its powers to the existing government of the day? I think that clarity has to come, because those are the kind of questions that are going to be asked by posterity. That look, what kind of an example is the election commission setting, and for a democracy, such things to happen, I think it's extremely shameful. What would be the credibility of an elected MP like Mr. Subhash Chandra when he stands up to ask a question in the Rajya Sabha? People will wonder whether the question itself is mala fide or not. So a lot of questions will come up because of the very questionable nature of this election, where it is evident that on the basis of one pen and little bit of ink, a democratic verdict has been set aside. I think the rightful thing would be for the election commission to act. Otherwise, I think that the aggrieved candidate would definitely approach the court in times to come if he finds that justice has not been delivered by the election commission. But many a times the courts have come to the aid of people and they have put things right, but then that again has to be in a time bound manner. If it happens after 6 years when the term is over, then I'm sorry, it's again justice delayed, justice denied. So there's no use for that. I think that what we are looking at is that a lot of public pressure needs to be also put by the media, by political parties, by various, because this tomorrow can happen to any political party. It's not just a question of happening to an independent candidate who was supported by two political parties. It can happen to the candidate of a political party. It can happen to an independent. It can happen to anyone belonging to a smaller political party which may not have the muscle to fight the ruling party of India. So I think in such a scenario, what is really distressing is the all around silence, where I think that enough pressure is not being put in terms of what the media is saying or what political parties are saying. Of course, this will find an echo in Parliament when it convenes in the 3rd week of July, if by then matters have not been put right, and if they have, then I must say we will commend the Election Commission and say that look, you've done a great job by standing up and standing up for what is right and what is truthful.
Absolutely. Valid point made over there by Renu Mittal. The Election Commission has to prove, it has to show that it is not a toothless body. It has to set a precedent that the miscreants who actually tried to, conduct some sort of a fraudulent activity in the election of the Rajya Sabha will not get away with it. And R.K. Anand has been livid ever since it happened. Now let's hear him out once again.
इन्होंने वीडियो फुटेज दिखाई, तो मैंने कहा ये वीडियो फुटेज तो आप आगे ले जाओ भैया, जहाँ डिस्प्यूटेड है सीधा आ जाओ ना असीम गोयल पे, उस पर करो कंसंट्रेट। तो जो मैंने उसको किया कंसंट्रेट, तो पहले तो उसका फेस दिखाया, मैंने कहा इसका फेस देखो कितना कंफ्यूज आदमी है। और पहली बात यह है कि सुबह से लेके अभी तक ये जेपी के साथ में था, इसने बीजेपी के साथ में वोट क्यों नहीं डाली, ये अब क्यों इंतजार कर रहा है इस बात की। उसे पता है कि बीजेपी की सारी वोट पड़ गई हैं, एक कैप्टन अभिमन्यु रह गया है और एक जेपी उसके साथ कॉन्स्पिरेटर है, इसलिए वो रुका हुआ है। उसे पता है कि अब कांग्रेस के वोट आने वाले हैं। तो मैंने कहा इसको इस एंगल से एग्जामिन करो कि ये कितना टाइम लगेगा इस पेन को, ये देखिए ना, ये जो लगा के इधर से ये लगा के ये ऐसे अगर हो तो कितना टाइम लगेगा पेन को चेंज करने में। ये देखिए, इसको हटा के ये पेन जो है ये यहाँ ये लगा देना, ये लीजिए, कितना टाइम लगेगा देखिए आप, ये नॉट मोर देन 2 सेकेंड्स 3 सेकेंड्स। तो ये गोयल ने अंदर 50 सेकेंड के करीब वहाँ लगाए हैं। अभी तक हमने फुटेज पूरा एग्जामिन किया, प्रेम एफिशिएंट जो कल बताया जी 50 सेकेंड लगाए, तो 50 सेकेंड तक ये क्या करते रहे, इनके आप इसकी मूवमेंट को वॉच करो, इसके पैर भी हिल रहे हैं और बाकी सबकी मूवमेंट देखिए कि क्या है।
So carefully thought out, a very clever plan which was executed under the assumption that people all around them, people who watch, all people who will be watching that footage, do not have any sort of intelligence whatsoever. Ashish, coming back to you now, the Congress party, has done, it's taken some action in, they've asked the MLAs to submit an affidavit. What more do you think can the party do so that this crisis is averted as soon as possible, and the further problems that might be in store for the Congress are taken care of before this blows out of proportion and actually harms a few individuals in the party?
Whenever there will be an example looking for democracy stabbed with a pen, this is the one that is going to be quoted. Out of 17 Congress MLAs, including Kuldeep Bishnoi and his wife Renuka, you make 14 votes invalid on one text or the other, and majorly is the fact that you've replaced a pen there, and the MLAs who are coming to vote have no choice but to vote with the pen supplied there. And there's actually such a minor difference that to normal light and naked eye it is not visible, because when all these MLAs showed their vote to the election agent of Congress party, Mr. B.K. Hariprasad, it couldn't be noticed in the normal light. And that's why where Mr. R.K. Anand has already explained that when the counting was happening, one of these candidate or his person pointed out that there's a different ink that has been used. So they were basically in the know of the entire thing, what is going to happen, and that's where they use this technicality to make the votes invalid. So in this process, what has happened, that Election Commission, we are submitting, all our MLAs are submitting an affidavit to Election Commission that it is with the pen that was supplied there, that was kept there, they marked their vote with that. So whatever allegations earlier were coming onto the Congress party, that Congress party has worked in connivance or with the Subhash Chandra, so that is totally untrue, false, and these accusations we'll be fighting out. And that affidavit that proves, the video footage that proves, the entire sequence of events that proves that the will of the majority has been subverted. The fundamental principle of fair election of democracy, free and fair election of democracy has been violated. The entire electoral process has been vitiated. The purity of the election process has been vitiated by subversion, by fraud, by manipulation. That's what the Election Commission has to take note, and that's where the onus lies now with the Election Commission to come out and punish these perpetrators, to set an example for further votes. I couldn't agree with Renuji more when she said that these are extraordinary circumstances, and the Election Commission has to set an example so that in times to come, people have a fear of Election Commission, that they cannot get away by violating the process with such impunity. One other point I would just like to put across, the technical point, that if the Election Commission does not any eventuality does not invalid the entire election process of this, they would be rewarding those who are guilty of such a fraud and will be benefiting from from that decision. So there'll be no other option but to go to the courts. And as you know, the court, the legal process in India is a long drawn process. But democracy should not be subverted. Democracy should not be held guilty by people who have money power, who have muscle power, who have the entire election, the machinery, state machinery at the stake, the ruling party. And if they subvert like this, that'll be the most unfortunate day in democracy.
Absolutely, very valid points made by you, and of course let's remember that it's a democracy and everything needs to follow a standard, everything needs to be done in a certain righteous way. And on this note, I would like to thank Renu as well as Ashish for joining us on this debate, and it was a very enjoyable debate, at the same time an eye-opening debate. That's all we have on the show. We'll see you tomorrow. Take care.